Hi everyone, I'm Samiah Ahsanuddin. I'm the founder of StEPS, which is an education and career consultancy. We work with students to help them with their university applications, and we work with professionals to help them with their career development. Welcome to this podcast called StEPS2Success, where we talk to people who have pivoted in their careers, which means that they had something, they studied something for their first degree, and now they're doing something completely different to what they're studying. My guest today is an extremely enterprising individual who I have seen since she was in pigtails. And she has invented and reinvented herself multiple times over the many years that she's been working, raising a family, studying, and being extremely creative in the way she runs her career and finds new opportunities across all the skills that she has. Welcome, Samiah.
Thank you
Thank you so much for having me. Samiah Ahsanuddin Hamdani is an influencer, and she has a very famous channel called Samiah Simple Stories.
Yep.
But she didn't start with that. She has a very, very interesting background spanning multiple subjects and multiple careers.
Yes.
So we're going to start, Samiah, with your undergraduate degree. So
Sure.
First of all, thank you for being here.
Welcome.
And
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited because I have seen the different changes that you've had in your career and how you've always built upon what you had already done previously
True.
to do what you're doing later in life.
100%.
So tell me about your undergraduate degree. That was in economics, right?
It was.
Okay.
So I studied in Lahore, as you know, and I grew up in Lahore. I went to the Lahore Grammar School where I did my O-levels, and then at that time it was Senior Cambridge. Went on to Kinnaird College, which was my mother's alma mater, and then I did economics and stats there. And then from there, I went into a college which had just started called the Lahore School of Economics. I did a master's degree there in economics, finance, and banking, actually. Once I was leaving there, I got admission at Sussex University. So I was leaving for England, and on the plane, by the way, I told my parents that I was very fond of photography. So I told them that I don't want to do another degree because I had finished in August and this was going to start in September. So they said, well, tell us what you want to do. And I decided to do photography and makeup. So I went
you were on the plane.
on the plane.
That
and
is
my
so
mother had
interesting.
gotten rheumatoid arthritis at that time, and she was going for a treatment. So they were going to be in England for 3 weeks while, dropping me to college, and then they were going to do that. So I decided on the plane, and as soon as we landed, the next 2-3 days while they were going to be in London, we went to the American College in London. I enrolled in a short course for photography and the London Beauty School for a makeup course. So I did both of those then. And like you said, everything that I have studied and done has actually benefited me in my career now.
Let's go back to when you did you're at Kinnaird, you were studying economics,
Yes.
and then you went to the Lahore School of Economics. Was that something that you really, at that time, was economics something that you were very interested in, or did you just do it
I was
because-
very good at maths.
Okay.
I am still very good at maths. My mental maths is excellent. So when I was good at maths, and when we were growing up about 25, 30 years ago, the careers were very limited. You were either a banker, you were a doctor, accountant, or a lawyer, or an engineer. So banking was something which was very glamorized even then. So I thought I'll become a banker. So from there, I was doing this, and the Lahore School of Economics was opened by my father's second cousin. So it was easy, like, okay, let's go there.
Yeah, it seemed like the natural choice.
It just was because
of your
once I
strengths,
got
yeah.
in, I actually in between had gotten into, because I'm quite creative, I had gotten admission at Philadelphia College of Textile. I was supposed to go there, but Ammi fell very sick, so I just decided not to go. So my admission was there. I was about to go, but so whatever God does, there is a reason for it. Once I came back from doing my photography and makeup, I worked for about a year, and I found it a little monotonous, even though it was very creative, but I just wasn't fitting into that role. So I decided on the side to apply to Cambridge because I wanted to.
We're going to take a step back here
Sure.
now. So you wanted to go to, you were initially going to Sussex to continue your economics,
Yes.
but then you decided that you wanted to pivot and do something completely different, very
Completely.
creative, and go into makeup and photography. How was that experience of studying something you
It
had not
was
studied before?
really, really interesting. It was, I learned how to, uh, how to develop photographs in a dark room. I learned how to do makeup on all skin tones because I was in London, and the school catered to all kinds of students, and we would do makeup on each other. So that was when I learned all of that. When I came back to Pakistan after that, I photographed multiple people, like my friends, my family. I even did a couple of my friends as brides,
I remember you
which
did my
one of
photo
you
shoot. You did me as a
you
bride.
were a
Yeah.
bride, and I did
So that
also.
was actually your first business,
It
right?
was my
So
first business.
what you
No,
had
sorry, I have to. My first business, going back a bit, was when the textile design, which is what I was fond of.
Okay.
I was 21 years old when I had finished my degree at Kinnaird College. I was 20, and we were going to America, my parents and I. I made clothes and I took them for an exhibition to America.
So that was your
And that
first
was my
business.
first business of clothes. And I remember I made enough money to buy my mother 2 gold bangles, my father 2 cufflinks
How
of gold,
nice.
and my brother and sister something small also. But that's the amount of money I must have made in that, at that time. I don't remember
Nice.
exactly.
So you were always entrepreneurial.
So I was, and I think the talent, my creativity was very much there from the beginning. And I, obviously, because sometimes life takes you in a different way, I wasn't able to go to the textile design, so I really wanted to do that. Going to Lahore School of Economics was to get the business degree, so in case I wanted to do something with business, or because banking was glamorized, going into that field, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that time.
But it helped you in your business.
Oh, of
then,
course,
of
100%,
course.
100%,
Absolutely.
100%.
So when you came back from the UK with your makeup and photography qualifications, and you were running your business with sort of photography, makeup, you didn't have a studio. You were doing
I was
freelance
doing
work,
freelance
right?
work.
And you did that for how long?
I did that for about,
I think 3 years,
2
if I'm
years.
not mistaken.
2 years,
Yeah,
yes.
before.
8.
So what led you? So you were running this successful business,
Yes.
and then you decided that you wanted to go
You know,
to
I
Cambridge
was-
in
I
something
think-
completely different.
Yes.
Another pivot.
It was something that I was missing. I think I was missing having a foreign degree as such, because the photography and the makeup degree were 3 months, and it was very short, and half of the time my parents were there and half the time I stayed with family, so it didn't feel like I had gotten that.
It was a course.
It was
more
like
than
a course.
degree.
It was not a degree. It was just like a diploma. I think I missed going to college. I missed going abroad for college, let's put it like that. And because my dada had gone to Cambridge, and then my chacha had gone to Cambridge, my father decided to go elsewhere. I wanted to keep the legacy going. So I applied only to Cambridge. I applied to no other university. And I, in fact, did it on my own. I didn't even tell my parents that I was applying till the day I had to send money for the form. And I went to Abu's office, and I remember I told him, and the only thing he said, show me the form. How did you do it? And I showed it to him. And I think out of the only thing that I got wrong was the college, because my dada went to Queen's College. And as legacy, I would want to go there, but I thought he went to King's. Being a man, I don't know, in my mind, I put King's. So he changed that. He gave me the money. He sent it off. And then I kind of forgot about it. I went on with my photography and makeup. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, I got my acceptance. And then there was no looking back.
So why did you choose to apply for a degree in or an MPhil in education, not economics?
Well, the MBA school of at Cambridge, it was a 1-year degree also. But I thought to myself that because I've done makeup and photography and all of that, I wanted to actually start a school of makeup and photography in Lahore,
right?
Because there was none available. So education degree was more so for that if I have that degree, I will know how to run a school, because the degree was actually it was an MPhil in education in school development. And then later on, while I was there, I made it into
it was leadership, right?
Leadership
Education
and mentoring and teacher training. I did that part of it also. But that is the reason why I did that.
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it obviously, there's so many things I keep forgetting, and now it's all coming back to me. So that was the journey for there. And once I completed that, I did come back to Pakistan, and I Once I graduated, I worked in Lahore for a year. I worked at the Beacon House head office. I did evaluations for them for their schools. I traveled all over Pakistan actually to different schools, made them a handbook for evaluations. And then I got married as the course of time. And I moved to Karachi, where I joined the Aga Khan University. And in fact, they actually hired me at the IED, which is the Institute of Educational Development there. But that office was a bit far off from where we lived, and in those days Karachi wasn't very safe. So my in-laws, and being new in Karachi, I remember my in-laws were very hesitant to send me off there.
So the logistics did
The
work.
logistics
And
did
I
work
remember
out.
you worked at Kinnaid for some time as well.
I
You
did.
taught
I did
on the
teach.
masters at Kinnaid as well.
Definitely.
So that was teacher development. Yeah.
Exactly. While I was in Lahore, when I was working for the handbook, before that, I did do that. So taught there, and then in Karachi at the Aga Khan, one of my old teachers was there, Samiah Mansoor. So I coincidentally met her, and now that I think of it, is all how God makes you, at the right place at the right time. So she said, "Why don't you join me at the Institute Nursing School of Education? No, not English
English
department.
department in the
So
Aga Khan
I did
University.
join that, and then I taught teachers and doctors. It was a lovely, lovely time. I had a great year, did that, but saying that, I knew that this is not my calling. It was not fulfilling enough. I wasn't able to, I think I did manage their finances because I had the business degree for that School of Nursing. It was a very good experience, but I did feel that this was not me. This was not something that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And coincidentally, I was doing my Canadian immigration, so I had to go to Canada a lot and stay there. While I was doing that, I went back to my photography because that was freelance. I could do it at my own time. So I did that. And for 13 years straight, then I did photography while I lived in Karachi. And I also, in the meanwhile, started doing clothes again. I went to the Apna exhibition in America. It's the All Pakistani Physicians of North America exhibition, which is a great platform for anyone. And I, mashallah, did really well there. When I came back, I became pregnant with Noor,
Yeah.
which was a surprise to everyone and myself.
That was a gap of how many years?
10 and 7 years. So my youngest was 7. Yeah.
Yes.
So that actually, and when she was born, mashallah, she brought a lot of luck to us. And, we moved to Dubai, which is what I think Ali had wanted to move out. And with the banking, he was at a standstill and he wanted to grow. So I think that was a great thing that happened. So once that happened, we moved here. So my clothing career came to a halt because, in new place,
yeah, settling
in, all of that.
New baby.
Yeah. Older ones at, difficult ages. I guess children are all at every stage. It's a tough one, but young kids, young problems, little problem, big problems. But I went back into my PR and marketing and that kind of thing, because I am, as most people know, I'm very good with people. I'm a people's person. I am good with communication. I can talk to people. I'm confident. So that comes naturally to me. So Boulevard One is someone who asked me to join them, and I did. I worked with her for about a year. Then I did freelance, worked with the brands. Just Pret was there. And then I've worked with, I think, all the multi-brand exhibition houses. And while I was working with, I think it was either Boulevard or Brands for Pret, I used to meet these bloggers. And at that time, we called them bloggers. Now they're all influencers.
Yeah.
So that actually caught my fancy. And I thought to myself, I can do that. But, growing up, one is told that your life is very private. You shouldn't show it out. Nazar lag jati, all of those things that old wives' tales and all our parents and your grandparents and, how they say that to you. So I was a little careful and I was a little scared to start. But Samiah, once I started that, and when I started my page on Instagram, I didn't know that I am going to become an influencer. I just started.
I remember when you started, it was very casual. And I remember having a conversation with you one time because you had your education background, and with me being in education, I remember us having talks about it. And I recall a conversation where you were like, I really want to get back into education, but then I have so many other things going on, and the baby is small, and I'm not really sure what I should be doing. And I said, Samiah, but your strength is people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you were like, yes, that
Yes.
is my strength.
Yes.
And I love how you've been able to, through your career, you've been able to play on your strengths.
Yes.
And there's so many times where we see people who push their strengths aside and they try to develop things or become people that they are not naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas
True.
you have enhanced your natural abilities and used them at every stage of your career.
I think, Saima, I think that wherever we study, I tell my children this also, that get a degree in
Yeah.
whatever you want. It's not, because I have realized that over the course of my life, right, that studying something doesn't mean that you have to be doing that.
Exactly.
And I'm a prime example of that, right? I studied math, stats, economics in Kinnaird. I did economics and finance and banking in my master's, first master. Then I went to do photography. Then I did education. Now I'm an influencer and an entrepreneur. And I did clothes in the middle also. So that fashion thing
So
also.
all types of
All types of
creative
different things. So
entrepreneurship.
now, as being an influencer, when I did realize that this is what I'm going to be and what I'm going to do, I went in full force. My makeup and photography degree, helped me with the kind of makeup I do. I do obviously have makeup artists who help me, but at times when like today, I had to do it quickly, so I did it myself. My hair, I lost a lot of hair because of dieting when I was younger, so I have to cover it up, have to make it in a certain way so that I look presentable. Hair made me do that. Then my photography, I mean, when I'm doing a shoot, I have had many shoots done by my nanny at home, because I have a camera. I have told her to hold it at a certain angle, done it, and she's done a brilliant job because I've been able to tell her what to do. So there it came into use,
of
right?
Of course.
My education degree, because dealing with people, mentoring people, that is what I do now. An influencer is someone who mentors people, who gives what they think is the right thing. Yeah. And
you're educating people
you're
as well.
educating people, you're parting with your knowledge.
I
of it,
remember
think.
in COVID, you did a lot of educational content on your
I
blog
did.
when
I
you were
did.
newly started then,
Yes,
right? And I
yes.
remember you did
did.
a lot of very, very useful posts around prevention. I still
Exactly.
recall you did one, I think that was probably before COVID or just after, around fire hazards.
Yes,
And they were so different from
Yes.
what other influencers were doing, because you were actually imparting knowledge.
Yes, and I think why my blog went the way it went well was because I was very authentic, one. Secondly, I got COVID very early on, when there was no injection, when there was nobody who knew what was happening. I got it and I was locked up in my room for 14 days. I was every day sharing what I was going through. So that really made a lot of people follow me, or come to my platform to see what's happening, because
And I think that was a time when a lot of people were hiding that they had COVID.
Exactly.
So you actually had the guts to come
Yes.
out with it and
Yes.
say, yes, I have it and this is
and
what
this
it
is what
is.
is going on.
You helped a lot of people sort of, shatter that fear of COVID as well.
True.
True. Did you sort of, was that something that you were doing consciously because you were aware that there was the stigma around having COVID and you wanted to break that?
Initially,
or did
yes.
it just happen?
No, initially, yes, because people were not okay. It was, and when I got it, I thought to myself, what if I die? That's the first thing that people
And you
would
had a
say.
very small baby.
And my Noor was, I think, 4 or 5. She was very young. And I remember when I told her, she literally had a meltdown because she cried all day long that day, because she couldn't once see me. I opened the door to tell her I'm okay, but because she had been hearing that COVID happens and you die, so that she thought something will happen to me. Thank God I was okay. It was not super bad. It was a little, I had fever a little bit, but that was fine. But yes, that is why I showed it, because I wanted to, one, remove the stigma of having COVID. Second, I wanted to show people that what happens. You're not going to die if you have it. So
I think it's important also, there's that kind of social responsibility that comes with being an influencer, or that, with being a public figure of any
100%.
form. And there's so many things that we are fearful to talk about as a society, be that, say, when it was COVID or any health
Anything.
concerns. People try to keep it we're very private, and sometimes, sharing helps, because when you share, then there's so many other people who will come up and say, oh yeah, I'm suffering from the same situation.
100%.
So apart from COVID, have there been any other sort of examples where you felt that you've helped to create awareness or shatter myths?
The one that you just mentioned, the fire extinguishers, that stemmed from a family friend of mine who lives in Faisalabad. Her best friend's daughter passed away by getting burnt. She had just blow dried her hair, and she had put some hairspray in her hair, and she came and she had got a candle, one of the big candles in her bedroom, and she had just bent down to either blow it off or do something, nobody knows, and that caught fire in her
caught
hair.
fire. Oh
And
my.
once her hair caught fire, obviously very quickly her body caught fire, and she ran out of her room, and they did kind of curtail it, but it took them, I think, 10-15 minutes, and by that time she got third-degree burns, and she was hospitalized, and I think about less than a week she passed away. So that
That's
was
really
why
tragic.
I actually spoke about these fire extinguishers. And then there are many times I talk about things which have affected me, or more so my family, friends or people around me. And those are like I'll give you another example. Very recently I've been talking about perimenopause, because I'm of that age that I'm going through these things. So, and I know there are a lot of people who are, like you said, it's like a not a people are shy of talking about it, even though now we live in a world where people talk about everything and anything, but people don't. So that's something I'm talking about now. People are shy of talking about, I talk a lot about this one thing, which is egos. People have egos, and people, get angry with each other, and they don't make up. And then when they become very old, they miss out on 20, 30 years of their lives, especially family members, especially people in very close friends. And then after 20, 30 years, when they actually are old and they want to forgive each other, and they may do so or not even, they've wasted so much of their time. So that's something very close to me that I talk a lot about, because I've seen that in the generation above me, that has happened to family members of myself and around me.
So lots of time lost, lots of relationships unnecessarily ruined. Yeah.
Things. So and I don't, as a human being, I feel that saying sorry or saying that you were wrong does not make you smaller. You are actually a bigger person if you do that. So coming back to my influencing, this is all what I do that. But why I did this was, I think, by default also somehow, that this is something I saw that I could do, and I then finally decided that I'm going to try it, and I started enjoying myself. So when I say hello everyone, assalamu alaikum every morning, it is something that's my pet peeve, and everyone recognizes me by that and by my voice and all. So that has become kind of my identity.
Also, I think there's this accusation that influencers show a very fake life, and there's this belief, or there's this feeling that a lot of what people see on the internet is very artificial, it's made up, and everybody seems to have a perfect life, and that's creating a lot of discontent amongst the
Others.
younger generation. But I've noticed that we see you glamorous.
Yes.
We see you in all those, fancy designer clothes, which perhaps many people cannot afford. But then we also see you in your t-shirts and pajamas, which we are not doing with other influencers. What has made you decide that you're going to come in completely unfiltered, without makeup, showing people you're washing your dishes at night? Because we don't see that side of glamorous celebrities, right? We don't see them cooking their food without makeup, or doing their makeup even.
Saima, I think it comes from confidence. I think this all stems down to confidence, and also being content. Alhamdulillah, I am grateful to Allah that I am that. There are times everyone faces in their lives where ups and downs in your lives come, right? That there's no human being I know who doesn't have something wrong going on in their life, or some problem going on, some issue that they are dealing with, which is difficult, right? But when you go onto a platform now, and these platforms are they are seen by so many children, and these are like this little phone in your hand connects you to the world. If you see a perfect world on this little gadget,
Which is what we do
which is
most
what
of the
you're
time.
doing, it makes you realize that, oh, my life is shitty and the other person's life is perfect. It's not true. I don't I've never been a artificial person. Anyone and everyone who knows me and who've known me all of their lives will know that I am who I am. I can't fake anything, actually. I can't fake liking people, I can't fake not liking people, I can't fake being someone who I'm not. So I guess that comes from being why I'm authentic, is because I may be confident, and maybe I don't have that I'm no longer that shy person. I When I was very, very young, I was a little shy, I think, for a very short time, I think not very long, but
That didn't
that
last.
didn't last too much, huh, because I think I wasn't. So, but I think saying all of this, I think I'm gabbling now. But being a confident person, it allows you to show yourself, your authentic self. I'm I love myself. I really like, that Kareena Kapoor line that I'm my favorite. I swear to God, I am my favorite. I love myself. There's nobody better than me. So for me, if I tell myself that and I know that myself, showing myself in my hair loss with using Topic, or with oil in my hair, or pouring hot water in my sink in my night suit, it doesn't take away from who I am, right? That is the Samiah I am also. The Samiah who's wearing these glamorous clothes and glamorous jewelry is also Samiah. So it's just me. I guess there's
we
nothing.
I work with a lot of teenagers, as you know,
Yes.
and there's nowadays we see that a lot of unlike what our generation believes, that Gen Zs are always on the internet. Actually, they're not. They're very private as well. They may be on the internet, but they'll keep their cameras off because they don't want to be seen.
Sure.
There's also a lot of I think a lot of sort of COVID teenagers are
Yes.
also struggling with with social anxiety, with confidence, because they were locked away for 2 years.
2 years.
Many of them without natural human contact. How do you, and you've got teenage
Yes.
boys, so as Samya, the one who tried to be shy and is not, and as Samya, the mom of two teenagers, what is your take on raising your teenagers and raising teenagers around you? Because we'll have a lot of teenagers who will be watching this, and a lot of parents as well.
Sure. Each child is different, Sama. My two boys are about nearly 3 years apart. The placing of your child in the family structure plays a very big role also. Having two boys, as in two children of the same gender, makes a lot of difference also. If you have a girl and a boy, they will be
The
different.
dynamics is
The
different.
dynamics is different. If you have two girls, it'll be different. But having two of the same sex will be more or less similar. The elder child will be the more responsible one, even if they're a year apart, because they're the elder child. They'll be more, you will have invested a little more in them than the second one. So they will be a little more, I feel, confident, a little more astute, they'll be a little more aware, all of those. Second children are trying to make their place in life. I'm a second child, but my brother, because he was a different gender and I was a different gender, I think that kind of helped
You
us.
were the oldest girl.
I was the
still,
oldest
yeah.
girl, and now somehow in my family, because I'm the middle child and I'm closer to my brother in age, because women suddenly do take on the motherly role. I do take on that role in my family. Even though he's older, I somehow become the elder one there also. But coming back to the children, I feel that the boys are, mashallah, both confident. The older one's confidence, he's got a brilliant sense of humor. That I think I owe it to watching Friends for 8 months, because I was on bed rest. I was used to watch Friends the whole time.
He
Yeah,
absorbed it.
yes, he absorbed all of that funniness. So but my second born is very, very different from my first one. The first one is a little more structured. He's a little more focused in what he wants to do. Second one is still finding his bearings on what he wants to do. So I think it does matter. The teenagers it does matter where you are placed in your family. Secondly, it's a very different world we are bringing up our children in. When we grew up, it was a very different world. Our parents were strict with us and we had to listen to whatever they said. You can be strict, but you have to be a little more flexible with the kids nowadays, because being super strict, there is so many different
There's a lot of dangers of being super
there,
strict as well,
there are a
because then
lot of
children will
dangers out
hide
there.
things from
Yes.
you,
And
right?
hiding, I think our generation hid things also, but they were not that many. They were not so aware. We were not so aware of either harming ourselves or being harmed or having.
And there were less dangers
Yes,
around
there
us
were
as
less
well. We were
dangers
less
around.
exposed.
Yes, the
Yeah.
exposure. That's the word I was looking for. There was less exposure, and because there was less exposure, they the children could not be harmed or be affected that many. Saying all of that, Noor is 10. She's going to be 11. So the difference between raising Shamir, Shayan, and Noor, I feel, also there's a gap because of 10 years between the
So
eldest and
they're
youngest.
almost a different
They're a
generation
different generation.
amongst
And
them. Yeah.
sometimes the boys say that you're so easy on her and not on, you were so strict with us. So that, and it is true. There are times that I let her be on her iPad maybe longer than I would have ever let the older ones.
You had
be on
more
it.
energy,
I
right,
was
when you
more,
were
like-
raising
like-
them.
like so much older. So yes, that also, but also I think you learn with each child, Sama. You learn
Yes.
how, and it's not, you and I we didn't come with a manual of parenting,
course.
right? But we're learning on the job, as they say, right? So you're learning as you go forward. And learning on the job with each child is different. I dealt with Shamir in a different way. I'm dealing with Shayan in a completely different way. And I think with Noor, I will be dealing when she's a little older in these matters in different ways. Colleges, when they're applying to colleges, all of that, I've never forced my kids to apply for something they don't want to. I have guided them, of course, and I have told them what I think is right, but I've let them make the final decision as long as they're going to a good college, they're going to a safe place. And of course, as a parent, one has to keep guiding our children, I think, all our life. Once a parent,
So
always a parent.
as a mother of two young men, what's the kind of, if there was one message that you had to give to your boys, what would that be?
Always respect women. You know, when Shamir was and Shayan were very little, they were in Karachi grammar school. One day, Shamir came back with a black eye. He was all of 3.5, and I remember I said, "What happened?" He said that boy hit me. So I said, "Did you hit him back?" He said, "No, the teacher said we're not to hit back." I said, "All right, good boy." My brother was there. He said to him on the side that you are never to hit anyone first, but if a boy hits you first, you're allowed to hit them back. And on that, I remember I piped in there and I said, "But you are never to touch a woman, a girl, not a woman, a girl at that time." And he looked at me and said, "Even if she hits me hard," and I said, "Even if she hits you hard," I said, "you are going to run away from her. You start running away, but you are never to hit her." So when they were very little, I made sure that I tell them that what they can do and what they can't do. Hitting is not right. Anyways, I don't
Anyway,
believe in it, even if it's a boy or girl. But if a boy attacks you, then you can, definitely protect yourself. But woman, if she's hitting you, run.
Yeah,
You don't hit
yeah.
them back, okay?
And what's the one message that you would give Noor?
Well, for her,
What's-
she has to know what I was told. That when I was growing up, I have a very open relationship with her till now. She's young. She's still mama's her world right
yeah,
now.
of course.
I think maybe in a few years I might not be, because other things will take over that. But for her, I just want her to be safe always. I've always told her that wherever and with whomever she's with, if she's uncomfortable, she has to tell me, or as long as I'm there. And if she's not, she has to remove herself from that scenario. If
Setting her boundaries.
Setting her boundaries is something very important, and if you have to tell them from like a very young age. Like I'll give you a small example. She's all of 10 right now. She was 6 years old, and one day she said to me about somebody, I can't name them, but she said that I don't like them. And at 6, a child telling you, and that was a man. And I said, "Why?" And she said, "I just don't like him." That day, and that someone lives in
Close to you.
Not in my home, but they live in my life very closely. So from that day onward, I made sure that I tell every male barring the grandparents and the close ones, that Noor is not going to be hugging people. Because if she's uncomfortable hugging one person and she's feeling it at 6, my daughter's not going to hug people. She's
Yeah.
going to shake hands with them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how, and this has happened with me, Saima. I was very young. One of my mom's uncles, the cousin of my grandfather, when he used to hug me, I didn't like it. And for all of my younger years, I can now put it, he must be a sleazy uncle because he was hugging me not in a very comfortable way.
And we're never told to say no,
We are
right?
never told, and we were hugging them irrespective. Even now you see my children are very, like me, very huggy and kitschy. I'm a very physical person, but my hugs and kisses are not sleazy. But men, sometimes if a woman and a girl is feeling uncomfortable, she has to have her boundaries from day one.
And I think it's important for women to actually understand when they're feeling uncomfortable. And of course, as women we do, but as younger girls, it's important for them to understand and to be able to articulate. So absolutely.
I think the younger generation is much more smart.
And also, I think because our parents would probably not have understood or not even have picked up on it, right? Whereas we are probably more astute in that way. So we've always had, again, as you said, uncles who'd come and hug, whatever, and you'd never really think anything of it, even if you felt uncomfortable or you'd be too awkward to say it, right? But this generation definitely has their boundaries. And also, I think, I remember, because I have girls, and I remember when they were growing up, we'd say, oh, beta, go and meet this person. And if they'd say, no, I don't feel like it. Initially, for me, it was like, why are they saying this? And then very quickly I realized, well, if they're saying it, then this is it, right? So obviously I brought up my girls. I'm older to you, so my parenting journey started before yours. And we also, as parents, as you said, no handbook, no internet at that time as well to take in those awareness, and no influencers to be guiding you either. So it's very important to have girls set their boundaries, and also for boys to set their boundaries.
Also for boys, I was just going to say that for boys also, it's easier said just for girls because obviously they are more they're more softer, they're more, girls are girls after all. But for boys also, they need to also know that, if they are uncomfortable in a scenario, they should also not be forced to be there. So
there's that peer pressure that we all need to not succumb to.
But I think the younger generation is smarter than us. They are smarter. They don't do that anymore. They will say it out loud.
We are scared of of the exposure. I remember when my girls were growing up and this internet exploded and everybody had devices in their hands, I was very scared of what they would be what they would be able to access and all. But because they were so much more internet savvy than I was, they very quickly understood where their limits were and what, how they could sort of keep themselves safe as well. Of course, there were accidents or whatever.
Of course.
But still, I think they are much more aware of a lot of what goes on in the deep, dark world of the internet than we are. So they are much better capable of protecting themselves than we think.
True. I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
A tip that I have seen and that has worked for me with the boys, Noor hasn't started yet, but it's starting. I'm starting that with her now, is that what you were talking about that earlier on, that children are on their gadgets and they don't talk to one another, and the communications skills have gone down. And even if they're able to talk to their own age group, they're very awkward when they're talking to adults. The Assalamu alaikum has gone away. Everyone's gone to hello, and at least Muslims and all. And I'm very, very keen to do that. So that's why my hello starts with a hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. And my children do the same. I encouraged my children to meet, if somebody came to my home, they came over to my house for a dinner or for a tea party or to visit us. This is when we had moved to Dubai, not in Pakistan. I would be maybe ready or not, but I would ask one of the boys to go and open the door and then to sit with them for 5 minutes. Even if my husband and I were ready, we would just refrain and stay upstairs for those 5 minutes just to allow the children to talk to the adults, to gain a bit of confidence, and it does. Most people who you are meeting will not know your children.
Yeah.
And that is not how we grew up. most
Yeah.
of our uncle aunties knew us. Your
course.
parents knew me. My parents knew you. So that was something, because we interacted a lot more with them, right? Life is so fast nowadays that people don't take their children everywhere, whatever. But that tip has worked for me.
That's
And
an
I think
excellent tip, and that I think that also allows the children to be discover themselves on their own, right?
Exactly.
Because as parents, we are often too quick to jump in to solve problems for our
yes,
kids.
100%. And that way they can talk to the adult. And, sometimes the kids learn in those 5 minutes,
Of
they
course.
learn something from that adult. And
course.
that they'll tell you that later on in the evening or the next day that, this uncle was saying this and he has this and he was telling me about this. So it creates curiosity for them. It creates confidence for them. So these are little things that I did with
That's
the
a
voice.
very good idea. Also, I think as adults, sometimes we don't know what to talk to kids about.
Of course.
So I notice a lot of the times when I work with teenagers, right? So we'll find things to talk. You work a lot with younger people, but a lot of the times when I remember when my girls were growing up, when we'd have, say, friends come over, they would just talk about, so beta, what are you studying? What class are you in? And that's it. And it would be very stilted conversation. Kids would get bored. They'd like, what is this? They're not really interested. They're just making small talk. So I think for the adults also, it's important to actually show a genuine interest in what the children are doing and, who they are
100%.
as
I agree
people.
with you.
Because again, this generation is very smart. They're not interested in that stilted small talk.
Exactly.
Coming back to our topic of sort of pivoting and your skills. So if you were to say that there were 3 skills that you have learned from your different degrees and the different education that you are now using in your career, what would those 3 be?
I have also now started as I don't know if you know, a referral consultancy where I'm connecting people, right? So that comes from, and also I'm an entrepreneur. I'm doing cheese boards and
yes, I know.
Yeah, and I'm doing grazing tables. So my creativity is going there, right? That is one part that is taken from, I think, from my entrepreneurship, what I learned in marketing and my business thing that is doing, because that's my little business I've started. My influencing in this career, I think my makeup and my photography that I learned earlier on, that is playing a very big role, because I know how to sit, I know how to do my makeup, I know how to, when I put on a bit of makeup, how to contour my face to make it look a little slimmer, all of these things, and to style myself. I know how to stand in front of a camera for a different angle to look a certain way. So that is helping me there 100%. And thirdly, I think when I lived on my own, that kind of taught me confidence, taught me how to, do things on my own. So to date, I just have one young assistant who sometimes helps me send out some messages for me before these multi-brand exhibitions. Apart from that, I am doing everything single-handedly till now.
Amazing, brilliant.
mashallah.
So you're obviously a woman of many, many talents,
Alhamdulillah.
and it's with sort of 3 businesses running side by side. It's difficult to be a one-person show
It is
or one
for
and a half
now,
person show, and inshallah you'll be expanding
Inshallah,
to a team.
Inshallah.
What's the one message you would give to people who are looking to choose their careers?
Don't be close-minded in just what you study and what you want to do. And also follow your heart. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you confident, and do what actually gives you peace. Because at the end of the day, if you're happy and peaceful in what you're doing, you will exceed. And give it your full. Don't do something half-assed, because that's never going to work. Tell yourself when you wake up in the morning, when you're going to work or when you're looking to do a work, that I'm going to do the best that I can. And inshallah, you will.
Start your day manifesting success.
100%.
Thank you, Samiah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me over.
If you've enjoyed listening to this conversation, follow us on Instagram and on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to having you listen to more inspirational stories like Samiah's.
Thank you. Thank you so much.